Roll call, please.
Mayor Grant.
Here.
Iverson.
Here.
Hutton. Polish. Poppy. Bosco John.
Here.
Split.
Here.
Good.
Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from April 19th meeting?
I'll motion to approve the minutes from April 19th meeting.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. First item is a public hearing. Time is 7:01. I will open the public hearing. This is for rezoning request of N8747 Douglas Street. Parcel as published there. Does this also have a correlating city address yet, or is it still on the township address?
The
Sorry, I had
Alliant
to step
lot.
out to get my glasses.
For the Alliant lot?
They do have an address.
Okay, so we do have a city address for it now?
Yes.
Okay. Do we know what that is, just to make it official?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
16 something.
all right, the formerly N8747 Douglas Street. We're looking to rezone from agricultural to industrial for Alliant Energy's use. Anyone from the public want to speak to this? We'll give it just another minute here in case someone decides to show up. How's the project going?
Going good, still details to finalize.
Very good. Has the ownership changed hands yet?
No, I expect to close next Thursday.
Okay.
Acquire the property.
Cool.
I'll note that the letter went out, it was published, there was no comment registered prior to the meeting.
I'll leave the public hearing open if there's any discussion amongst the board. We'll get into that while we're waiting. Any questions or comments? No. No concerns from legal or?
No concerns.
building?
We've been here before, we know what's going on.
All right.
It's clear that it's here before you to simply move forward on the rezoning request.
Just feel bad about a 2-minute public hearing.
Actually, Mayor Grant, I have a question.
Yes.
Just, that road obviously has seen significant increase in truck and heavier vehicle traffic with the Lamers bus lines and the new Alliance warehouse being there. Is there any provisions or have there been talk about, I know that parcel is a little bit further down the road, is there anything for road reinforcement or the effect of any larger trucks that the new parcel owners may have? Or what is the expected use as far as larger trucks on that road?
Well, there's gonna be the line trucks,
Mhm.
probably be the most frequently used.
And those are currently on city streets without any problems or anything?
And then there will be occasional like flatbed semis delivering, transformers, spools, cable.
And I would assume that the road was developed with industrial park in mind.
That I recollect, that at least that portion was built to withstand that.
Because that's kind of the back end.
It's recently done.
Industrial park, so.
Yeah, to the pickle factory and
Yeah.
et cetera,
Yeah.
it's off on the other side.
Well, and even United, when United Co-op, when the traffic gets heavy in the fall, they route us around up Douglas Street to Buyer, and then back around to, what is that, in there, that they're on, I forget now. Stanton, yeah. So when, you got 80,000-pound semis coming up there, making a left-hand turn, going back down around through the industrial park, so.
Any other questions?
No, that'll do it.
All right, I will close the public hearing at 7:05. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the rezone?
I'll make a motion to approve the rezone of the address formerly known as in 8747 Douglas Street.
I'll
You
second.
do the parcel number too or not?
The parcel number as published.
As parcel number as published.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of rezoning to industrial, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved.
I think you're all set.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for coming.
Off we go.
Run fast.
All right, our next item is a site plan review for Flash Trucking, just across the street from that new parcel. Several pages in your packet relate to that, both building as well as the use of the rail spur. We have the architect here, if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, Sue, is there any issues with the site plan?
I just had that one email that had sent you about the full metric plan.
Trying to get it.
Okay,
I would ask that it be approved pending your approval.
and same with the
For the
landscape.
metric.
I don't know if you need any explanations, but
Yeah, maybe just an overview.
we've seen it before. Basically, we're having a 100 by 100 distribution building off the rail spur. We've got some drop trailer parking, and all the water is being directed to the existing retention pond to the east. Provisions for future buildings all the way along until we get to the gas main, which runs through the property.
On the drainage, is this, the drainage open
It's
ditch?
an open ditch,
Okay.
yes.
And I assume if you expand more, that would be covered up and,
It would have to be, well, it would turn into pavement to
right, with
push the
drains
water, yeah.
underneath.
There's a new culvert, I believe.
And then this section here coming off the dead end is paved or is it gravel?
That's paved. That's just access to the tracks for the most part.
So if we get a motion, we'd be looking for a motion, subject to approval of photometric and landscape plan by the building inspector. If anyone has any questions or would like to make a motion?
I do have one question. Do you want that to come back to plan commission, or you just want to do it at staff level?
The photometric is all you're missing.
And
Or-
the landscape?
And the landscaping,
Well, there is a landscape, but we're gonna,
It's partial.
partial.
we're gonna ask for a variance, so it is gonna come back.
Okay, so.
But I guess I would,
Okay.
That would go to zoning board.
That would go to zoning
Not
board.
clear.
Oh, they're asking for a variance. Okay. Yeah, then that would not, so staff could handle the approval. But you're asking for a variance from
For landscape.
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 ordinance.
And then the staff could approve with the
After.
support of the
Yep,
variance.
yep. That's fine, so that could be included in the motion. Subject to staff review on the photometric plan, landscape plan, with the understanding that variance will be requested from the landscape requirements, correct?
Correct.
Unless they meet the landscape requirement.
Unless they meet the landscape requirement, right. Unless- If and
Well,
only.
to explain that, we have, I don't know how many acres the site is. I'm not looking, but basically, we're developing a quarter of the site. I don't want to have, like, the developed lot requirement is take the area of the site and work on, or that number of requirements. I want a variance to say we're just gonna, the area we're developing, we're gonna address as a landscape requirement, and the remainder will be future requirements as the building expands.
So you're certain you're gonna be asking for a variance?
I am.
Very good. So with the understanding that the variance be applied for and ultimately approved, otherwise you're coming back
Correct.
with a new plan. Yep. That's the motion.
Would anyone like to make that?
Go ahead.
I'll make that motion with all the
Okay.
the necessary language added, so I don't have to try to repeat it or regurgitate.
I'll be happy to second.
Okay. So as I understand it, the motion is to approve the site plan pending staff approval of the photometric plan and staff and/or zoning board approval of the landscape plan.
Yes.
Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the site plan, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good timing, Craig. Now we're up to you. So the next item is the site plan for Ripon Main Street, 409 Ransom Street, also known as the Village Green, which is right here. And I assume we're looking at this because of the size of the pergola.
Yes,
It's over 500 square feet.
over 500 square feet.
Do we have any issues from building inspection?
Just that it's built on the city site, the Main Street site.
Could you just explain the reason it's over 500 square feet? And
Correct, so any structure or addition or alteration over 500 square feet in the B1 or B2 district, certain districts require a site plan review. So this being a structure of, I don't know, whatever the square footage is there, over 500.
1,500.
14 or 1,500?
Yeah, it does require just review, although it's simply a pergola and
Now,
Kind of like
what-
what's downtown here, just on a bigger scale.
And what were you saying about being on city?
The front corner here is actually owned by the college.
Okay,
so it's about a 60-foot lot, so Craig submitted it with 88 feet off, so it's got about 20 feet plus from that property line there.
Yeah, the white piece is actually the concrete slab that the pergola is going to sit on.
so the little upper left corner with the dash line, that's the college property still?
Yes, yeah.
And seeing as you've completely leveled that, are they looking at possibly transferring that, or,
We've had discussions, so it's,
but they're allowing you to use it in the interim?
yes, I think that's fair.
If they let you alter it, I assume you can use it.
You didn't say no.
Good answer.
Yeah.
How long is the concert series been?
They didn't say so.
Give it,
I
yeah.
haven't had any
This
big
nice
achievements
pergola
so
is
far.
built for us.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the site plan?
Are there gonna be sidewalks to it?
Eventually, but
Okay.
because the primary sidewalk will come off of Seward into the center of the pergola,
And that's.
which will come across college
Yeah,
property.
okay.
So at, when the college transfers the property, however that works out, we will combine all the property lines at that point, so then we can run this past, over all the spaces.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
The goal is to make that centerpiece handicap accessible.
Would anyone like to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Village Green site plan for the pergola.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'll be able to see it from my house, so. There you go.
All right, all those in favor of approving the site plan, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is a CSM for John and Mary Matterum? Combining 2 lots on Moraine Drive. Adam, talked to them this afternoon.
Yep, correct. So, you have in your packet the application with the combination of 2 lots on Moraine Drive for the purpose of building a house and creating a larger lot. You can see sort of the map here. So these in the green here are the 2 parcels that will be combined together. They have purchased both of these lots. Their intention is to build a house on this, in this area. The lay of these lots is unique in a sense that they are not easily buildable at times, and they kind of drop off back here. So this is a unique kind of piece. They have received approval from the neighborhood association to build the house and combine the lots. So that has been done. So that's the justification for it. And they plan on starting building in the next 6 months. And the house will be situated a certain way and be a larger house. Not a mansion or anything, but certainly, you know, at least 1,900 to 2,000 square feet with multiple stories. The back.
That's a 1,900 square foot footprint.
Yep, yep. So, and then just the house, and then there's an attached, detached garage that's to the side, so it will be rather long from what they described to me. We have not seen plans yet, but they have gotten the approval from the association to do this, so this is just the CSM combining the 2. Simple as that.
Was it 100% approval by the association?
I cannot answer that.
Yeah, okay, I was just curious. There's not a lot of people up there, but there are some, 8, I think, 8 or 9 now.
Hard to object to a larger lot, though.
Right.
That can only enhance the
Well,
property values.
while we do agree that this combined lot would fit the house well, and the association did approve, we certainly don't want to encourage too many people up there to make bigger lots, because we want more houses.
That was my concern. If you have 2 houses with an empty lot in between, if they decide to buy that and then split it down the middle, now we've lost a lot.
Right. And
But
this,
if the homeowners association has to vote on it, that might be one way to deter it if they don't want that either.
and the city has put money into the infrastructure with stubs going into each property for like water and sewer, so.
I have a question. Can you articulate and I think you already did kind of, articulate the reasons why we're allowing them to combine the 2 lots? I think it was something to do with they're difficult to build on individually.
Yes, I believe if you look at this lot, there's kind of a wooded area here. It drops off very quickly toward this retention pond. So their house is going to, the back of their house is going to face that pond, obviously, and have an exposed basement and like a walkout patio is what they described to me. So it's 2 stories, but the way that lays up there, Sue's reviewed permits for all the houses up there. It is a challenge. And you may be put in positions where this occurs up there from the standpoint of there may be a lot that is almost unbuildable without adding a component of the lot next to it.
And as we understand, this proposed house is going to be a very wide house.
That's,
Okay.
yeah.
The lots on Drum and Loop on the north side are actually worse.
There are.
And
They are.
Yeah.
I had one that
Well,
called, well, we're gonna put a prefab shed behind the house. I'm like, have you looked at the lot before you bought it?
So, just based on what Sue said and what you've told me, if someone wants to build again, we're likely to face this again.
Possibly.
If possible, it's
Possibly.
You can look up in that area and see, there's, you know, obviously, I think the mayor and John brought up the point of setting the precedent of allowing combination of lots, which limits the amount of houses that can be built in that area. The thing that's already limiting the amount of houses that can be built up there is the land.
topography.
It's the topography, right?
And I think we have to be careful and take it case by case, and this one
Clearly.
clearly,
That's what I want to articulate,
Yeah.
so that when this if it comes up again, which seems probable to me sometime in the future, this is why we did it, because
right, and
you
this is,
can't build anything on that lot without adding,
we don't want this to be a rubber stamp for everyone to combine lots up there.
right, okay, I'm satisfied, thank you.
By the same token, you can look at the history in the attempt to get as many lots on that topography was put a lot anywhere. Some of these have sat there
Right.
without any activity for a lot of years.
And in this case, if it makes it a buildable lot,
Exactly.
Exactly, yeah, because this one, I
I
never
mean, this
thought
has a
anybody
unique
would build on it.
feature. This entire area is unique, just shake a drive.
Yep,
You kind of go, seriously?
yep,
You're gonna put a house where?
yep,
And so the idea that we get a house, as opposed to them saying, I'm going someplace else, where the land is flat, and I don't have to worry about falling off the cliff.
And generally speaking, the houses that are being built up there are approaching $500,000 at this point. So with the lot value and everything, you know, this does equate to a significant increase in overall value for, you know, what equates to about 1.2 acres, so. Not ideal in every situation, certainly.
would anyone like to make a motion to approve the CSM?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the certified survey map of, what was it?
274 and 282.
27,
274, 282 Marine Drive.
let's put those friendly amendment. Yeah, I'll make that motion of that, the certified survey map to combine those two parcels. For
I'll
building.
second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the CSM for 274, 282 Moraine Drive, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved. All right. Next is another CSM for Ripon Chamber of Commerce, 1074 West Fond du Lac Street. All right. And that's what you're here for.
Yeah, the reason for that is to combine three parcels, actually. Right now it's built on 67566 and 67567 and 67609. And three parcels, and we're doing a lot certified, the certified survey, is gonna combine all three of those parcels into one, so that the Little White Schoolhouse don't drape over two lots. One of the things.
So I see the two lots.
There's one down in
Everyone's
the
a little
corner.
sliver, right here.
Oh, there's one there.
Yeah.
That's tiny. Oh, yeah, all right.
Right here.
Forgotten.
All right then.
You see that letter? You need me to zoom in.
No, I got
Oh, boy.
And out of curiosity, is
What do I
this
do with
a
that?
drainage ditch that goes all the way back to Silver Creek, or it's a very long skinny piece?
Oh, the walking trail?
Oh, that's what that is? Okay.
Interesting.
I was
Part of the
wondering.
description that was, there was a survey done originally there too.
I was wondering what that was myself, just a little, like,
We,
little strip of land.
we had one of those a couple months ago out by what road was that? Was the roadies, I think.
It
And
was
didn't we come up, Sue
extraterritorial.
and I talked, and we thought it might be, at one time when it was farmland, it's for cattle to walk to the
Oh, yeah.
creek.
Mm.
We don't know for a fact,
Yeah,
but I
that was
remember
that
talking with,
extraterritorial in town of Ripon.
yeah, that was that one,
Yeah.
yeah. So it could be, that's the reason, just that strip.
Anyone have any questions on the CSM or would like to make a motion to approve it?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the certified survey map for Little White Schoolhouse, brought to us by the Ripon Area Chamber of Commerce Incorporated.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? That is approved. Take a signature right away. Just the one copy?
Like to add 'em.
You can stay over there, I'll
Oh,
pop
okay.
over there.
Alright.
Let's see what's up. Anything new?
There you go.
Oh, somebody got dated yet,
Oh, alright. Today is
Oh, it's
17th.
Smiley Ford concrete
17th, yeah.
Who is?
in college.
Oh. They're
Okay.
really moving on
Alright.
that project.
Very good. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
When you shake bags of money at the construction company.
Alright,
All right.
next item is the review of the floodplains and shoreline wetland draft ordinance. Adam?
Yes, so in your packet, you have a copy of the whole entire ordinance and some information about what is called Act 175.
Some light reading.
Yes, sorry, you don't necessarily have to, you didn't have to read it all now. I just wanted to get it in front of you because we'll have more. But, so we had a meeting with the DNR about, I don't know, 6 months ago, talking about the floodplain ordinance and staff's process for permitting activities in the floodplain. The city of Ripon has not had a comprehensive update to the floodplain zoning ordinance for 10 to 15 years. In that time, the state has changed their model ordinance, and we should keep in line with the model ordinance at the state level. As well as we did have an upgrade to the dam, and with that upgrade requires the potential to incorporate dam failure analysis information into the ordinance. So working with the DNR, we drafted the ordinance and have been waiting to review it here at the Plan Commission, and then we will go through the process of amending the zoning code, which includes public hearings and publication of things. So that is the general process. I will note that one of the points of concern right off the bat is just the Ripon Dam failure analysis. We have to get that correct and put in the information that is most relevant there to incorporate that into the ordinance. So we are waiting on that, working through with the DNR. 2017 or 18 was when the dam was completed, I believe. There was likely supposed to be some submissions to the DNR that appeared to not have happened, but the engineers say, well, we would have submitted things. Well, there are new maps, so we're just waiting for that. So that might delay some of this because we don't want to have to go back and just amend the entire and redo this whole entire process for that little tiny section. The big thing I will just mention in all of this is the inclusion of Act 175, which is a new allowable ordinance section that you can put in place. Essentially what happened in the state of Wisconsin about 5 years ago or so is somebody rather wealthy in Trempealeau County on the Mississippi area had a situation where their house was in a floodway and flooded, And the federal government, the FEMA regulation, allows you to actually rebuild in a floodway. The state of Wisconsin did not allow that type of activity, was more restrictive than the FEMA guidelines. So they petitioned the state legislature and got the ability to have Act 175, which that was the bill, included in local zoning ordinances. There is a page or two on that, and really it just provides an opportunity for individuals who have a property in the floodway. If it does indeed get flooded, they can stay there, okay, if it gets damaged to a certain level. They just have to do a ton of work to keep it there, okay? So ultimately, it is the city's decision whether we include Act 175. It is my general recommendation that it's really not harming anything by including it. If you want to see where our floodplain is and who would be affected by that type of activity, you can see here, there on the map, coming in on the east side, the blue area would be the floodway. And then you have the flood fringe, which is more of the pink slash yellowish area here. So the area we're really talking about is only in the blue. So there's not a ton of structures in the blue. But as you move toward Silver Creek and along West Fond du Lac, there are some properties that have boundaries that get really close. And or they have the edge of their house in the floodway.
Like the Red Barn.
So there are a few properties down here that, you know, are in flood fringe, and then as you creep this way more, you know, there are houses with structures in the floodway, okay? So the first question by the DNR is, well, do you even have anybody that could ever use this? And the fact is yes, we do. So do we allow it and include it? Yes. Does it mean that if they flood, they can continue to build? Like I said, they have to go through, as listed in the ordinance, they have to meet all of these criteria, okay? So it's not, and we're not gonna go through all of them, you can read them, but it is not an easy thing. They will need engineering, they will need certificates, they will need a ton of planning and development of architectural drawings and engineering product. You know, it's just craziness.
So they won't be able to rebuild as it was, it'll have to.
Yes, it certainly will be a struggle to allow it to happen. So, so for example, I mean, any living quarters in the non-conforming building are elevated to be above the flood protected. So their whole house has to be lifted above the flood, you know. So it provides them the opportunity to do it. They just have to meet these rules. So this is just the first conversation. It's our recommendation that we put 175 in. If the Planning Commission would like that to be included, we can continue on with finalizing the draft of the ordinance, and we can proceed with scheduling public hearings and moving this forward. A lot of information with this, you know, redo. I would say that 90% of our current ordinance is reflected in this draft. So it's not like we you know, there's just subtle things that change based on what the DNR recommends. So overall, these are the areas that this regulates. So you can kind of see just through town where properties would be impacted that are in these zoning districts. You know, ultimately, development in the floodplain does need to be regulated. We have to do a better job of regulating it and making sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, because ultimately, you know.
Does this extend east of the mill pond, or is it all downstream?
East of the mill pond does go out toward Douglas, which it actually gets pretty broad out that way off of Hall. So, for example, here, where the heck is it? Yeah, so the city limits is right around here. So like Hall Street here, for example.
So basically from Seneca to the,
Jeez, this thing is slow, sorry. Jumping on me. Jumping on me.
from Seneca to the funeral home is basically where the floodplain is.
Yeah, and that's the flood fringe, and you can do more, if you read through the ordinance, you have the floodway. The blue area is really the restricted kind of, area we're most concerned with. The flood fringe, you still have to do certain things in that, but there are more allowable uses, you
So,
are allowed to do more.
For example, that property that we rezoned to industrial on Hall Street Extension there.
Yes.
Or Hall Street Annex.
Right here.
That didn't go through because they would've had to build up because they were in the floodplain.
So you're bringing up a point, so Han Trucking owns that now, they wanna put a parking lot there.
Mhm.
So essentially, what the current ordinance says is that is an allowable use. However, you cannot make improvements in there that affect the 100-year flood level anywhere else. So you have to do a hydraulic study to show that. And then when we permit it, we are supposed to, at the end of the permitting, have a certificate of compliance to the design from an engineer saying that they did indeed build it at the level they did. Okay, so even to build a parking lot, there has to be a study done there. The other side of that is they can't put anything in that parking lot that can float. If they do, they have to make sure that it will not float away. Okay? So.
There's enough water there, a trailer will float away.
Yes, so there are protections and things we can work with them on in that particular situation to ensure that. But you are correct there is a previous proposed use in this area of like storage units and whatnot. They would have had to fill in this lot and get it above the flood level. And at that point too, there's opportunities to reevaluate firm maps and flood insurance rate maps and apply to FEMA to get your property out. There are a few properties here that probably did that. Here's this little island. Somebody studied and said, get me out, and they got out. So DNR is looking at this. So this is, we do have a few projects that occur there. We have to sort of revamp some of the things we do from a permitting perspective, I would say, to remain in firm compliance with the floodplains. It's not something we deal with a whole heck of a lot. So when we do, we certainly want to do it right. The ordinance is the guide, and is certainly, DNR is looking at us with some of the flooding that's occurred in the state. They're looking at us and saying, you need to track this better, and ultimately, if there's a property that does flood repeatedly and it gets to a 50% of its value, so if a $100,000 house floods twice and there is $51,000 worth of damage, at that point, it is done. It is above the 50% threshold, and it likely cannot be improved any further, and it needs to be removed. So they're really sort of hitting communities on doing more, although really our ordinance, when we amend it here, won't change much. They're just putting a little more pressure on us to ensure that it's updated, and also allowing us to do, on the flip side, provide more flexibility with Act 175. So that's the whole story.
And just for the people that might be listening at home, if you have a house in this area, nothing has to change now. It's just if it gets damaged and needs to be rebuilt, it becomes an issue.
And we'll have a public hearing over it. We'll get the ordinance out online and available for review. And like I said, the vast majority of it will not change from a regulatory standpoint. It's just merely an update to reflect state statutes and DNR's wishes for us to do it.
So you're looking for some guidance tonight, or?
Yeah, if you want to proceed with Act 175, that's fine. And then we will, like I said, in June or July, proceed with public hearings once the ordinance is finalized.
I'll make a motion that we accept, is it Act 175? Did I get that right?
Yep.
Act 175, floodplains and shoreline, wetlands, ordinance.
Okay,
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Leave that map up, I wanna look at something after the meeting.
okay.
My house in it.
Are you looking for your own?
You're on the other end of Douglas, you can probably forget.
My sister's house. Anyhow, any discussion on adding Act 175 to the upcoming revision of the floodplains and shoreland wetlands ordinance? All those in favor of adding Act 175, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved. All right, project updates, staff reports. Anything from you? I see the college stadium's moving along. Any progress on Boys and Girls Club
I have not heard anything.
or?
We did meet with the Boys and Girls Club to talk about traffic concerns and whatnot, so same with Ripon College.
Do they have timelines for either project? I know the
I'm
college
not-
timeline is next, or end of the summer, that stadium's supposed to be done.
Yep, end of stadium for that. I have not heard any other updates from the Boys and Girls Club regarding the start, but I'm assuming they want to start by the end of the year. And then we did have a meeting yesterday with the design firm for the college regarding their science center addition. So that will come to the Plan Commission via a site plan next month. So.
Okay,
I will say they are keeping the street clean down there. They got actually a guy that runs around every little while with a sweeper.
I did see that one day, I was
Yep.
driving past.
He was out there again today when I stopped in.
and that's Bolt doing the work?
Yeah,
Yeah. I know they're pretty good about keeping clean sites.
yes.
All right.
That's it.
Future agenda items, I do have one thing that I'd like to look at some point here. The landscape ordinance, it seems like it's always getting a variance request, including by the people that wrote it. So I think that might mean it's time to review it and possibly update it at some point.
Okay.
Anyone else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 7.